Reddit stories from the category Today I Messed Up Big Time. Episode 3. Today I messed up by submitting spicy cartoon critter fanfic instead of my final paper. I'm a senior in information technology at a fairly prestigious university, supposed to graduate this semester. One of my classes is Modern Trends in Technology. Not the hardest class, but definitely serious, plenty of research and writing. For the final, we had to write a 20-page paper on any relevant or emerging technology. I chose helium-3 energy generation. I worked my tail off, poured my soul into it, and felt proud of the result. Deadline was midnight yesterday, and of course I pushed it to the last second to polish everything. That's when disaster struck. Quick backstory. I don't have a traditional job. Tried in freshman year, hated it. Did a couple of internships, but mostly I've survived by writing, let's call it spicy fan fiction about talking animals for private clients. Yep, that's been my income stream for 3 years. At one point, I was making nearly $2,500 a month between Patreon and commissions. Not proud of it, but money talks. I promised myself I'd quit once I had a normal job. Anyway, fast forward to last night. I'm running on coffee and gamer juice, sleep deprived, juggling multiple projects. I finish proofreading my legit research paper, go to upload it, and somehow I attach one of my commission files instead, and not even a mild one. This was a full-on 10-page spicy critter saga. The system locked at midnight, no resubmissions. My academic career yeeted into the void. Next morning, I'm checking grades and see an email from my professor. One line, please see me after class. I wanted to sink into the floor. No clue how to explain why instead of a research paper, he got a manuscript about a werewolf doing, let's just say, wild Pokemon roleplay inside a dragon. Yep, heckin' waffles. Update. Just got back from his office, still mortified but not crying anymore. I followed Reddit's advice, printed my real paper, and brought it with me. Sitting across from him, I nearly broke down from shame and stress. He noticed and gently asked me to calm down and explain. I told him pretty much everything I've written here, minus the gory, furry details. He got it. He understood why I took that kind of work. Not his thing, but he empathized. He said the file name tipped him off immediately. Something like customer commission seconddraft.ad, and since I'd been a top student in his past classes, he guessed it was an accident. He admitted he read the first page, realized it definitely wasn't academic, and stopped. He accepted my printed research, asked me to email it, and promised to swap it in officially. He even joked, well, at least what you sent me was well written. So yeah, I still want to vanish into the shadow realm, but at least he sees me as dumb, not evil. Thanks for the support, Reddit. You helped me survive a meltdown. Today I messed up by trying to bust my buddy out of timeout jail. It actually worked, for about a whole minute. This is a story about a great escape that lasted roughly 60 seconds. It happened many years ago, and I'll be skipping or changing a few details, but it's still the most epic fail I've ever been part of. Completely my fault. Back then, I was serving in the US Army. One night, my friends and I discovered the magical cocktail called a Jaeger bomb. We kept ordering them one after another, and before we knew it, the night was gone. My buddy Brian offered to drive me and my roommate back to our apartment off base, but we didn't get far. Picture this, 3 21-year-olds leaving a bar at 2 a.m. right next to a military base. Yeah, that pretty much guaranteed flashing lights. The police pulled us over. The second the officer leaned into Brian's window, it was obvious we were mega toasty. We admitted everything. Brian blew into the breath thingy 3000, and the numbers went full video game high score. Handcuffs on, straight to the back of the patrol car. Then the officer turned to me and my roommate. He explained that if one of us blew under the limit, we could drive Brian's car home instead of it being towed. We both tried. We both failed. Hard. Here's the weird part. For some reason, the officer let us keep Brian's car and keys, then drove off with him to the local lockup. To this day, I still don't understand why. About 20 minutes later, my roommate and I had what felt like a galaxy brain idea. Quick note, this was back when DUI punishments weren't quite as harsh as they are now. We were young, reckless, and absolutely heckin' dumb. I do not condone drunk driving, and I'm forever grateful no one got hurt that night. Anyway, back to the dumb idea. Both of us were military police at the time, and guilt was eating us alive. We had let Brian drive, and now he was in trouble. So naturally, we decided the best move was to drive his car home ourselves. It wasn't far. Still, 0% smart. And somewhere between leaving the bar and heading home, we came up with the ultimate plan. We were gonna bust Brian out of the county lockup. So here's the grand plan, step by step. Get Brian's car back to our place, brush our teeth, chew some gum, shave, change into our MP uniforms, strap on our duty belts so we'd look like we were on the clock, then call my unit's dispatch and have them not check with the lockup where Brian was being held. Every night, the command would check local holding facilities for any detained service members. Luckily, I knew the dispatcher on duty. The guy owed me a favor, and he agreed, no questions asked, to call the jail posing as our command. I asked whether they had any military detainees. They confirmed Brian was there. I then asked if we could take him into our custody. They said yes. Swap cars, leave Brian's car at the house, take one of our vehicles, psych ourselves up, and roll out. We pulled into the jail around 4 a.m. The lot was empty. We hit the buzzer at the entrance, explained we were there to pick Brian up under our responsibility, and heard the reply we wanted. 25 eternally long minutes later, boom. A loud clank, the heavy metal door slid open, and 2 corrections staff walked out with Brian in cuffs. His face was priceless. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. I told him I'd put my cuffs on him so they could take theirs off, did a quick pat down, and just like that, Brian was in my custody. We thanked the staff, led Brian out across the parking lot, and were practically sprinting toward the car with our hearts pounding. Then my roommate whispers, "Don't sit in the car, don't sit." I turn around and there he is, the same cop who pulled us over earlier, standing there, looking me dead in the eyes and asking, "Aren't you two the passengers from the car I stopped tonight?" Busted. Our 1-minute luck had run out. See, while we were waiting inside, that officer had come back to the lot, sat in his patrol car filling out paperwork, and watched us casually walk Brian out like everything was normal. We all got hauled to the big house. By 8 a.m., the command had come for us. Back on base, I was told to go home, pack my stuff, and be ready. This was not ending well. I came back the next day and spent another 45 days on base before being sent out on assignment again. The fallout was brutal. I was punished under the full weight of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I disappointed a lot of people and carried that shame for a long time. But weirdly, I also became famous on base. The rumor mill exploded. Everyone knew about the failed jailbreak. And in a strange way, the stunt made us local legends. People admired the loyalty behind the madness, even if the execution was bonkers. Fortunately, it didn't end my career. I finished my contract honorably and never pulled anything that stupid again. Looking back, it was insane, reckless, and flat out dumb. But it's one of those stories that reminds me of the brotherhood we had. We tried to pull a friend out of timeout jail, and for one brief glorious minute, we actually did. Today, I messed up by hiding in my girlfriend's room while her parents were home. As the title says, I'm currently in full panic mode sitting in her room. You might think she's here too and we're both freaking out. Nope, she's at school. We live about an hour apart, so hanging out isn't easy. Her parents are strict. No dating until college. Mom's kinda chill about it, but Dad's a hardline rule enforcer. Wednesday, we hatched a plan. I'd stay over while her parents were at work. Simple enough, I'd arrive when they left and sneak out when her dad drove her to school in the morning. First night went perfectly. I even sprinted to the car and got out before he came back. Thursday night was smooth too. Woke up when she got home. Friday morning, things got dicey. Her dad nearly caught us while taking out the trash, but she grabbed him first. She went to school and I locked myself in her room for the next 7 hours. Then her dad came back, tried the door, locked. He froze, flicked on the light, peeked into her brother's room, tugged the handle again, muttered something in Chinese, which I couldn't understand, and went back downstairs to nap on the couch. My heart almost exploded. I texted my girlfriend. She reassured me, no keys, only the handle works. She messaged her dad saying the door was locked. He replied, okay. I was still tense. Dad doesn't always listen. Fast forward a few hours, I'm lying on the bed, eyes wide, trying not to panic. No escape, no window jump, second floor, blinds and a screen, no sneaky stairs, Dad's napping on the couch and they creak. I had to survive the next several hours quietly. I grabbed some snacks, a boiled egg, 2 tiny tangerines, a slice of Hawaiian bread, and hoped nothing would trigger an accident. Tried napping, but every sound from the AC made me jump. Hiding under the bed? Impossible. Only alternative, a tiny closet, but way too cramped. Updates. Mom eventually left for work. Dad stayed napping. I managed to play FIFA Mobile, finally won a match after 20 tries, survived the AC scares, and even got a little rest. Girlfriend didn't respond to texts for a while, but I survived. When she finally came home, I was safe. We played FIFA, chilled, and waited until it was time to leave. Final update, I'm home, safely in my own bed, far from her parents. I've learned a lot. She's 19, I'm 20. Parents still control her while she lives with them. I'll never pull something this stupid again. If I were her dad and found out, I'd explode. Lesson learned. Stealth missions in real life are terrifying. Sometimes it's better to just wait. Today I messed up by going way too hard at self-care speedrunning, which ended with me needing surgery. Classic disclaimer, it didn't literally happen today. This was back in 8th grade, around the time I first discovered the solo player minigame and got very, very into it, pretty much every day after school. Honestly, I thought I was getting kinda pro, but one day, I decided to test how fast I could reach the boss fight. After school, I bolted off the bus, sprinted to the bathroom, grabbed a stopwatch, counted down 3, 2, 1, and went full turbo mode. I broke my personal record, but then felt a strange pressure in the downstairs region. Not the usual victory fireworks. I figured I just overheated the equipment, so I lay down to let things cool off. But instead of fading, the pressure climbed into my stomach, turned into nausea, then into non-stop burning pain. I was groaning and trying not to cry when my parents came in, asking what was wrong. I said my stomach hurt, conveniently leaving out the fact that the family jewels were on fire. My dad, being a classic Mexican dad, just said, "Drink a 7-Up, take some Tums, you'll be fine." Spoiler, I was not fine. 10 minutes later, Mom couldn't take it anymore and yelled, "That's it, we're going to the hospital." That 30-minute drive was the worst ride of my life. Every bump in the road felt like I was being stabbed by 1,000 angry porcupines. I thought I was gonna pass out. At the hospital, I told the doctor I had sharp stomach pain, left out the bonus round details because there was no way middle school me was letting a stranger look at my controller, so they ran a bunch of stomach tests. Nothing. Hours passed. Finally, I whispered to my mom, also my nuggets hurt? She screamed, "Why didn't you say so earlier?" and called the nurse. The nurse came in, suspected it might be twisted nugget syndrome, aka testicular torsion, put on gloves, told me to hold still, and started trying to untwist things manually. I swear, it was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. I would never hit a woman, but I'd be lying if I said my fist didn't twitch. My right nugget refused to cooperate, so they prepped me for surgery. They opened things up, twisted it back the right way, and stitched it so it wouldn't flip again. After 3 days in a bandage hammock full of gauze, I was back to normal life. Well, mostly, because the blood flow had been cut off, the right nugget shriveled. The left one now towers over it like a skyscraper next to a shed. Could have been worse though. The doctor said another 30 minutes and it would have been gone completely. Of course, I told my friends, because I'm an idiot, and they immediately gave my mismatched duo new nicknames. Robin Big, Dr. Evil, and Mini-Me, Pinky in the Brain. Honestly, those still make me laugh. Lesson learned, some things are better done slowly. Today, I messed up by cooking my dad's couch. This happened last Saturday. On weekends, I'm court-ordered to stay at my dad's place. Saturday is also his day off. He works in steel delivery. But that morning, he got called in to cover a sick coworker. So there I was, home alone, thinking of what to do. My eyes landed on his $700 leather couch, and my brain hatched a super not smart plan. All I needed was dish soap, the couch, and some towels. I started by squeezing dish soap into the couch's folds and stuffing towels underneath the zone of experimentation so nothing would leak. Then the adventure began. For a clueless rookie like me, it felt wild. No going back now. Extra detail, Dad left at 9:30 a.m. and usually got home at 4 p.m., so I thought I had hours. I started my project around noon. The couch sits about 10 feet from the front door and is completely visible from it. Then it happened. I heard the key in the lock and my heart fell to my ankles. The door opened and there was Dad, staring at me, completely in the middle of my weird science experiment with his expensive, luxurious couch. He gave me a look that could delete 20 NPCs at once and said coldly, "What the heck are you doing?" I panicked, threw on my clothes, and started wiping everything down, whispering, "Sorry, sorry, sorry." He stepped back out and before closing the door said, "Don't bother wiping it down. I'm throwing it out right now." The rest of the day was painfully awkward. We sat on chairs at the table, watched TV, and didn't say a single word, the couch looming behind us like a cursed relic. All right, folks, that's it for today's disastrous adventures. From epic couch fails to accidental spicy fanfiction, extreme solo player speedruns, and ninja-level hiding missions, I've officially run the full spectrum of Today I Messed Up. Thanks for watching, laughing, or cringing with me, and sharing your early mess-ups in the comments. Honestly, your stories and advice helped me survive some of the most awkward, painful, and downright terrifying moments of my life. Remember, be careful with other people's property, double-check your file uploads, don't push your body too far, and never underestimate strict parents. Stay safe, stay sane, and remember, we all screw up sometimes, but at least we can survive to tell the tale. Catch you on the next disaster. Peace out.